Okay, so today we're diving deep into something I think, pretty much everyone listening can relate to, right?
Yeah.
Building those healthy relationships, like the good ones, the ones that actually, make you feel good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we've got some really cool source material for this one, and it takes a kind of different angle on love and relationships.
Okay.
Like it's all about, you know, really getting yourself first, that whole self-understanding thing.
Hmm.
Which I have to admit, when I first saw that, I was like, interesting. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense.
Yeah.
Because if you're not happy with yourself, how can you really be happy with someone else? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like that old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Exactly. You got to
Yeah.
fill yourself up first.
Yep.
Okay, so this source material, it actually goes even deeper than that. It dives into like finding happiness in those little everyday moments.
Mhm.
Not always the big flashy
Yeah,
stuff.
the simple
Yeah,
joys,
exactly.
the quiet mornings, the inside jokes, just just being comfortable with someone, even in silence. Those are the things that really build a strong foundation.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like all those little things add up to create something really special.
They do.
So how do you think, like practically speaking, how do we shift our focus to those smaller moments? Instead of always waiting for the next big thing to happen.
Well, I think a big part of it is just being present,
Yeah.
actually being in the moment, not letting your mind wander to all the things you have to do later or dwelling on something that happened yesterday. Just really being there with the person you're with.
Right, being mindful.
Exactly, mindfulness. And it's not always easy,
No,
really.
not at all. It's like our brains are wired to kind of be all over the place.
Totally. But even just small steps, like putting your phone away when you're having dinner with someone or taking a few minutes each day to just sit and really listen to your partner, those things can make a big difference.
I love that. Putting your phone away. I'm so guilty of not doing that.
Oh, me too. It's a constant battle.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about like self-love and being present, but this source material, it also digs into something that I think a lot of people struggle with. And that's asserting your needs, like actually speaking up for yourself.
Yeah, that can be tough.
It can be really tough,
Yeah.
especially if you're like a people pleaser or you're afraid of confrontation. But the source material, it actually frames it as an act of self-respect.
Which it is.
Right.
You're basically saying, "Hey, my feelings matter. My needs matter." And that's important.
So how do you think we can get better at that?
Yeah.
At like actually voicing our needs without feeling, guilty or selfish.
Well, I think, first of all, you have to recognize that your needs are valid, just as valid as anyone else's.
Right.
And then it's about communication, right? Learning how
Uh,
to communicate your needs in a clear and assertive way.
Assertive, yeah.
And that doesn't mean being aggressive or demanding. It's more about being honest and direct while still respecting the other person's perspective.
Got it. So like finding that balance.
Exactly.
Which actually, that brings up another interesting point from the source material, this idea of relationships as spaces for growth.
Yeah, I love that concept.
Me too.
Because it really shifts the focus away from the length of a relationship, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to last forever to be meaningful.
Totally.
Even those short-term relationships, the ones that maybe didn't end so well, they can still teach us valuable lessons.
Absolutely. Like I'm thinking about some of my past relationships, and even though some of them were tough, I learned so much about myself and what I want in a partner.
Exactly.
It's like every relationship is a chance to like level up in some way.
I like that level up. It's true, though. You learn about communication, compromise, empathy, all those things that make you a better person, not just a better partner.
Totally. Okay, so this source material, it covers a lot of ground. Like it also talks about forgiveness, which is a whole other can of worms.
Oh, yeah. Forgiveness is complicated.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
But, what I found interesting is the source, it acknowledges the importance of forgiveness in healthy relationships, but it kind of throws in a caveat.
Like, what?
A caveat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like it's not just about blindly forgiving everything all the time. It's got to be balanced with self-respect.
Right, because forgiveness without boundaries can be really damaging.
Yeah, totally. You can end up feeling like taken advantage of or like your feelings don't matter.
Exactly.
So how do we find that balance then between being forgiving and still respecting ourselves?
Well, I think it starts with understanding the difference between true forgiveness and just letting things slide to avoid conflict. True forgiveness, it comes from a place of understanding, and a genuine desire to move forward. It's not about condoning the behavior or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about choosing to let go of the anger and resentment so you can heal and maybe even strengthen the relationship. But it's important to remember that forgiveness is a process. It's not just a one-time thing,
Mm.
and it requires both parties to be willing to work on the issues.
Right, it's a two-way street.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. Self-love, being present, asserting your needs,
It's a
forgiveness.
lot. Relationships are complex.
They really are. And this source material, it actually hits on one more key point that I think ties everything together. It says that happiness and love must be for both parties.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
It's not about one person sacrificing their happiness for the other. It's about finding a way to be happy together.
Absolutely. It's about mutual respect, mutual support, and a genuine desire to see the other person thrive.
And a lot of that comes down to something we talked about earlier, being present, like
Yeah.
actually taking the time to appreciate each other and enjoy those small moments together. Because let's face it, life gets busy, right?
Oh, yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget to nurture those relationships that matter most.
Right. And then before you know it, years have gone by and you're like, wait, what happened?
Exactly.
So how do we actually make sure we're staying present and connected even when life is crazy?
Well, it goes back to those small things we talked about earlier, right? Putting your phone away, having meaningful conversations, actually listening to each other. It's about making time for each other, even if it's just for 15 minutes a day.
And really listening, right? Like not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. That's actually one of the last things this source material emphasizes. Listening and attentiveness are the foundation of love.
That's so powerful. Because when you really think about it, listening is an act of love.
It really is. It shows that you care enough to pay attention to try to understand the other person's perspective.
Like the ultimate form of respect.
I agree.
Wow, this deep dive, it's really given me a lot to think about.
Mhm.
It's like it all comes back to self-awareness, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Like if you understand yourself, you can communicate better, you can set healthy boundaries, you can be more present, you can listen more attentively, and all of that creates the foundation for strong, healthy, fulfilling relationships. Not just romantic relationships, but with friends, family, colleagues, everyone.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up here, I want to leave our listeners with this. What if we all made a conscious effort to cultivate more self-awareness in our lives? How would that change our relationships? How would that change our world?
It's a great question.
It is, and it's one that I think is worth exploring. So to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights, and we encourage you to continue this conversation in your own lives.
And remember, the journey to better relationships begins within.
Beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, take care.
Take care.